Many horror fans attribute the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974 to be a heavy influence on the slasher films to come. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974 is one of my favorite horror movies. This film is truly horrific, but what's actually horrific is what happened behind the scenes. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be discussing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. First, I will discuss the story, and I will be adding my own opinions and thoughts. That said, I am not an expert in horror movies. I just watch a lot of horror movies. After that, I will be going into what happened behind the scenes. The reason why I will be talking about what happened behind the scenes is because, according to various sources, filming the movie was one of the hardest things ever, and the cast and crew went through a lot. Some of the stories I've heard are just insane to me. Anything I will say there, I've found in 2 or more sources, because I've also heard there's a lot of rumors that go around that are just untrue. So if there's anything I missed that you know is true, like it's been documented somewhere, please comment down below, because I wanted to be very careful with what I say, because there's so many rumors going around, because honestly a lot of it is believable. Also, if any of this you've seen has been proven false, correct me in the comments. I did my best to find it on 2 or more sources, and I just want to make sure I'm getting the stories correct. Feel free to correct me in the comments. Feel free to message me on any of my socials. If you want to read the sources that I got some of this information from, feel free to look in the description, because all my sources will be linked down below. Let's get into it. Also, disclaimer, I'm really bad at pronouncing names, so I will probably pronounce a lot of these names wrong. And I'm very sorry. This was directed by Toby Hooper, and it was written by Kim Henkel, and Toby Hooper. It was an 89% of Rotten Tomatoes, and the IMDb rating is 7.4 out of 10, and the budget, wait for it, $140,000 was the budget. So that's extremely low, but it was filmed, I believe, in 1973. The count is 5, and the film tried really hard not to be rated R. I don't believe a PG-13 rate was in existence back then. He tried to use a lack of blood to get a more PG rating. So according to ChatGPT, in 1972, GP, which was general audiences, but parental guidance suggested, which I'm guessing is PG-13 now. So they didn't use a lot of blood, and it is rated R now, but back then I'm pretty sure they got a PG rating. I'm not positive on that. It was rated R later. The main reason why I do appreciate this movie is I do feel like, I personally do feel like it influenced a lot of the new slashers. Spoiler warnings. If you haven't seen this movie yet, please watch it and come back, because I will be spoiling it. And if you don't mind spoilers, you can stick around. I'm going to be telling the story, but I'm just going to be telling the main parts. I might have missed some things, so don't come for me, and I'm just have my opinion. The movie starts off with a narrator reading what happened on August 18th, 1973. The narrator very creepily describes how very young children were met with a horrific end. This is read by John LaRoquette, the actor. He's just called the narrator. You hear shoveling of dirt with a black screen, and then you start seeing this gruesome scene of a corpse while the news of a crime plays in the background. The credit scene comes next, and I have to say this is one of my favorite credit scenes. I just love the coloring, I love the sounds. Mixed together, it's very just creepy and eerie, and I just love it. Then you see the main characters in a van together. Pam, played by Terry McMahon, seems to be reading a book about astrology to Jerry, who's driving, who is played by Alan Danziger. They find these old people and they're like, yo, my grandfather's at this grave site, how do I get in? And let me just say, I would not go up to those people with pepper spray in my hand. The vibes are just weird. They're near a slaughterhouse. Excuse me? I'm good. Okay. And the grandfather they're looking for is Franklin Hardesty's grandfather, who's also, I'm assuming, Sally Hardesty's grandfather, who is played by Paul A. Parton. Sally, who is played by Marilyn Burns, is the one who asked where the gravesite is. I feel how creepy these people are that they meet up with gives you a good introduction of like how the people are gonna be where they're at, because everyone else is as weird as them. Maybe a little weirder, maybe a bit more murderous, but still gives the same like, okay, back up. One drunk man is laying on the ground talking about how he sees things and how he's just this old man who everyone laughs at. But I don't laugh. I'm just like, you're a drunk man on the ground talking about how you see things. Your age really doesn't matter in that scenario.
Things happen hereabout they don't tell about. I see things. You laugh at an old man.
They come across a hitchhiker played by Edwin Neal. He's called the Hitchhiker. If anyone knows, if they have given him an actual name, please let me know in the comments below. And they debate picking up. And let me just say, I'm good. I'm good. We're by a slaughterhouse. He's coming from the slaughter. Maybe I'm just a vegetarian. Maybe I'm just being judgmental, but you're coming from a slaughterhouse. You're walking from a slaughterhouse. I'm good. And judging by those other people I just met at this gravesite, I'm good. I'm good. They do let him in though. Womp womp. The hitchhiker admires Franklin's knife and he takes it and starts cutting his hands. The hitchhiker then shows them his knife and he's trying to convince everyone that it's a good knife. And Kirk, played by William Vale, is like, yeah, that's a good knife. Then he takes Franklin's picture with his camera. Then the hitchhiker tries to convince them to come back to his house because his brother makes some good head cheese. Emphasis on the head cheese. The hitchhiker then gets upset that Franklin won't pay him for the picture that he took of Franklin without Franklin asking. He then does a science experiment and lights the picture on fire on top of tin foil, and he cuts Franklin with a knife. Then hitchhiker is kicked out, which in my opinion they should have done a long time ago. They go to a gas station, and this gas station is out of gas. There's this other guy named Drayton Sawyer, who's played by Jim Widow. And then he's like, you don't want to go to an old house? You don't want to go to your grandfather's old house? That's how people get hurt. It's dangerous. And that's foreshadowing at the finest. Sorry for the noise. This is when you see that a hitchhiker smeared a symbol of blood on the side of the van. Then there's so many scenes of Franklin eating this sausage. And let me just say, this sausage is a sausage in every sense of the word sausage. I'm not gonna say it, but catch what I'm throwing, that they're cannibals. It's a sausage. They never say it in the movie, but I've heard that it's a, it's a sausage. Word count on how many times I say sausage. Franklin, at this house they're at, still sausage in his mouth. After he gets stranded, he starts spitting and yelling for Sally. And he still has that dang sausage in his mouth. And then he's like, this will be fun. Come in. Whatever, he's like mocking them as they're like laughing upstairs. Pam and Kirk take off. They come across a running loud-ass generator. They stumble across the house and they're like, hello. Like, hello. Pam turns around, goes and plops herself on a seat because she's like, fuck this. Kirk walks in, he hears pigs squealing, and he decides that's enough reason to just walk into this house uninvited. And then he gets whacked by Leatherface with what I'm pretty sure is a hammer. And this is the first sight we get of Leatherface. And Leatherface is played by Gunnar Hansen. Pam's outfit is amazing. I want her shorts, the red shorts she's wearing. Love them. I want my own pair. I think this was done on purpose. I didn't read it anywhere, but I'm pretty sure it was. And there's this shot that could be seen as very objectifying, and I have heard that it made the actor really uncomfortable to just have an ass shot. So I do wish the shot was more of her back, but they have this like behind her shot, and you just see her open back, and that is very significant to what's gonna happen to her. She stumbles into the house, she falls into feathers and bones, and what's really like shocking to her is this chicken she sees in a cage, and like, I get it. I'd want to free the chicken too. That would actually be one of the first things I do, is getting that chicken out of that small ass cage. But what I think is more shocking and terrifying is the bones on the ground. there's just this shot where she's just looking at this chicken in a cage, and I'm like, that's not the most shocking thing right now. But anyway, Leatherface snatches her up. Then people who watched this movie when they were very young, every time I mention it, they're like, that scene where that girl's put on the hook, because she gets put on a hook. Pam is put on the hook, and she's like, oh my god, rightfully so. Jerry takes off. Then there's a scene where Jerry goes bye-bye. Bye, Jerry. R.I.P. Sally refuses to leave Jerry behind, and I get that, but what about Pam and Kirk? Then they fight over the flashlight, and Franklin starts honking the horn, and I'm like, I know you don't know that there's a wearing a mask of someone else's face with a chainsaw chasing you, but oh my god, could they be any louder? Sally and Franklin take off into the woods again, yelling once they realize they don't have the keys for the van. They start yelling Jerry's name, and again, what about Kirk and Pam's? This is kind of sad, but the whole movie, knowing it's a horror movie, you kind of put together that Franklin is going to be in a situation he can't get away from, because he is in a wheelchair. So you kind of anticipate his death being very sad, because you know he can't get away, and that happens. Franklin is brutally by Leatherface with a chainsaw in front of Sally. Sally screams. Leatherface then goes after her with the chainsaw, and they're running. Sally ends up at the gas station where the sausage fryer is there, named Drayton Sawyer, and he tells her, he's like comforting her, trying to get her to calm down, and then he's like, actually, I'm a bad guy, and he tells her just to cooperate. Then he attacks her with a broom and somehow wins. Sally has a knife, or knife? Does she have a knife? I don't know, she has something, kind of weapon, I can't remember what it was. And Sawyer puts her in a bag, puts her in the truck, pokes her a little bit. When they're driving up to the family house, they run into the hitchhiker who's walking to the family house. You see the family house in the distance, but it's dark out now, and a lot has happened since the hitchhiker before. It was like, because when he was trying to get them to go to dinner, I forgot to mention this, he was like, oh, my house, it's very close. No, the wasn't. No, it wasn't. Like, it's nightfall now, and you're just getting to the house. You're such a liar. Like, that's the bad thing. That's the worst thing, the hitchhiker. Sorry, I need to stop. Then we get the famous dinner scene. In my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, this dinner scene is one of the most terrifying horror movie scenes ever. There's no, like, extreme gore. It's just creepy. Like, that's the best word to describe it. Like, creepy to the full extent. It's just creepy. With the grandpa sucking Sally's blood off her finger, the family mocking Sally's screams, Sally gets asked if she likes Leatherface's new face, and then just, like, Leatherface creeping up to her. Terrifying. That's terrifying. I'm not sorry. That's so scary. Then as they're like taunting her and messing with her, there's this scene where Drayton, the gas station worker, he said in some part that he doesn't take joy in, so he says. And there's like this scene of him. He's just like, then Sally's brought over to the grandpa, and they're trying to get the grandpa to hit her with a hammer, and this dude's like, you kind of get the sense during the dinner scene that this is a murderous family, and that this has been happening for a while, because the grandpa, they're like, he's a killer. I'm not sure if it's directly said. You kind of figure out that the grandpa was also a cannibal. I want to know how Leatherface got to be Leatherface, though. Yes, they're weird and horrible, but Leatherface is putting other people's faces on his own. Like, how did we get here? What was different with him? Anyway, while this is happening, Drayton's like a good distance afar, and he's just jumping and clapping. Like, he does not know why he's here. He's just here. But she jumps out a window. She reaches the road with the hitchhiker and Leatherface right on her trail. And by right, I mean literally right behind her. This semi-truck drives up, and there's like a fight with the hitchhiker and her, and they take off. The semi-truck driver is played by Ed Guin? Ed Guin? I don't know. Ed Guinn. The driver runs off with Sally, but I'm like, why didn't you just go back to the semi-truck? Did I miss something? Why are we not going back to the semi-truck? I've seen this movie a couple times now. Why are we taking off on foot? The driver, I'm not quite sure what it was. I think it maybe was like a wrench or something, but he throws something at Leatherface and it hits up right here and Leatherface falls to the ground. And he has the chainsaw in his arms and starts going into his leg. The semi-truck driver is out of there. He's taken off down the road and Sally hops in the back of a blue truck. Sally laughs hysterically, as I would be too. And she's like, just kidding. She doesn't actually do that, but she like, you know what I mean? She's like, Leatherface starts doing this like scene where he's twirling around with the chainsaw, but I'm like, dude, what about your leg? Did I say the hitchhiker? I totally went over the fact that the hitchhiker just gets smacked and turned into pieces by this semi-truck. I'm so sorry. I just totally went over that. So sorry. My bad. Oh my god, I'm not a professional. Don't come for me. Now this is where the video is going to get a bit serious. Just do want to say a trigger warning what the actors faced while filming and the crew too. It could be very stress-inducing when I talk about it. While Sally was tortured at the dinner table, the horror she was experiencing was actually very real. The scene was filmed in a 26-hour marathon and took place in a farmhouse in Round Rock, Texas, where it was really hot out, like really hot to the point where it reached 115 degrees. Some of the actors hadn't washed their clothes or changed their clothes in 5 weeks. The set was littered with dog and cattle parts and fitted cheese for the atmosphere. Just imagine how bad that smells. Like, oh my god, and not washing your clothes. This is a part where it gets a little graphic. The scene where Sally's finger is sucked on by the grandpa. The prop they were using to have blood come out of her finger was malfunctioning, and Hansen actually cut her finger for real. Grandpa Sawyer is played by John Dugan says later, like years later, said he had no idea he was actually sucking her real blood and not fake blood. Like I said, Hansen actually cut her finger. Burns later said she was terrified during that dinner scene for real. After filming was complete, Burns was told that due to a problem with one of the shots, she had to return to set to film again. And she said when she went crazy and was laughing hysterically at the end of the movie, she wasn't actually acting. That was her real reaction to having to go back on set, after being so relieved it was done and experiencing everything she experienced. Also, the scene where Sally jumps out the second-story window, the filming was so low budget that she actually does twist her ankle. In her limping, she was actually limping. And it says here they couldn't afford stunt people, but I also heard that like there was a stunt double, but she also did the jumping and it was like mixed together. I don't know if that's true, but she did end up jumping, whether there was a stunt double or not, and she did actually injure her ankle. Paul, who plays Franklin, is known as a very annoying character. I didn't find him too annoying. I felt bad for him most of the time. I think the only time he really annoyed me was when he was like spitting and like making weird noises. But I kind of just felt bad for him because I was like, something bad's gonna happen to him. The whole time I was first watching this movie, I was like, I know his ending is gonna be very sad. But he decided to stay on in character during all of the filming, and this made the actors really not like him. The cast also did not talk to Hansen because they decided not to speak to him outside of shooting, and they finished their scenes and their characters were. Hansen, apparently his body odor was so bad. It wasn't all his fault. They were filming in really extreme heat and he was stuck in a costume. And also, according to Screen Rant, the scene where Burns suffers an actual cut on her finger and the grandpa actually drinks her blood, like her real blood, which I talked about earlier. Hansen ripped the safety tip off the prop knife to speed things along after the prop knife kept malfunctioning so much, and that's why she ended up having her finger cut. And I understand all the cast and crew were a bit hysterical, but what are you talking about? Why would you do that? That's like, I don't understand that. A lot of the actors, especially Sally, said the dinner scene felt so real, and this guy like actually cut her finger. I have no words. Like, what are we doing, guys? What? Huh? Like, I can't imagine being Burns in that situation. And lastly, many of the actors and workers were not paid well at all. According to Screen Rant, Gunnar Hansen said his first paycheck was just over $40. So not only did the cast and crew have to suffer miserable conditions, imagine having to put up with all that crap and not getting paid well. It's the story and everything that happened after. Again, I want to say, feel free to correct me and add more in the comment section below or contact me on my socials. This is new to me. I've never done a horror review on my channel before. So let me know if you liked it. I think I'm going to do more of these. I'm not an expert. Like, I'm just going off of, like, things I learn. But if you did enjoy this, let me know. If you want to follow me on any of my other socials, they are linked down below. Thank you, and thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay odd and off-putting. Bye. Bye.